I remember Obama spent all those trillions of dollars on Solyndra, which was a green energy, thing, and Obama spent all that money on Solyndra, and then Solyndra went bankrupt, and all of our taxpayer money was wasted. We basically paid for a business that never went anywhere, and Hoku is Roger Chase's Solyndra. Hoku is a power plant that is sitting there empty, and it was a disaster and a waste of taxpayer money. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the Ben Gregersen show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm really glad that you're here.
Yeah, so you know what? So am I. I apologize. Everywhere I go, I get stopped, and I'm there for the next 45 minutes. It seems like. So.
All right, that's all right. It just means you're busy.
I am busy. That's right.
And that's a good thing. The mayor's supposed to be busy. So.
Sure enough. It's one of the bonuses of being out in the public and doing all the public events that we can.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but during your last election, I actually went around town and passed out some of your flyers.
Oh, really?
To businesses.
Well, good. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you gave my dad some of those flyers, and we both went out, to all the different businesses and talked to people and gave them those. So.
That's great. Well, I wish you'd do it again.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I would do it again.
Those are good.
We're ready to go.
Okay.
We're ready to help out if you need us.
Boy, we're going to need everything we can get, I think.
All right. Awesome.
Our main goal is to prevent a runoff election.
Yeah. I've heard that could.
That could happen.
That could happen.
It could happen. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, I've got some questions here.
Okay.
They're actually my questions.
All right.
Roger Chase spent $1 million in taxpayer money to bring Hoku to Pocatello. Roger gave the company 67-acre plot of land at a rate of only $1 per year. I guess my concern is that Hoku's never opened its doors. It is an empty power plant that was I believe it was a complete waste of taxpayer money. I understand that it had potential, but it didn't go anywhere. It kind of reminds me of, Obama's Solyndra a little bit.
It's an interesting thing, and with economic development, we have to always there's gambles that we're going to have to take.
Yeah.
And there's no question. Originally, Hoku was going to go to the airport, out at the airport. There's an agreement for 450 acres at the airport.
Yeah.
With Hoku. The tribe came in and said, look, thank you, welcome to the airport, welcome to the Shoshone-Bannock tribe, their Indian reservation. And so Hoku pulled back and said, we're not going to come there to do that. And so Rogers hurried and scrambled and purchased some property for just over $1 million. It was $1,100,000 and something thousand or something like that. It was $1 million for round numbers, works perfect. But it was $1 million. He purchased that land to get them to come here. There was a lot of promise and a lot of hope that would happen.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Since then, Hoku has. There's been $700 million of infrastructure and building happen on that site.
Yeah.
And we have just over $1 billion worth of liens on that property. They filed bankruptcy, so they left all of the local people holding the bag with a lot of money. We have local contractors from Idaho and stuff that have a very large number. It's $60 or $70 million worth of liens against that they've been stiffed and they're holding back. So
that's too bad.
Those companies have paid their bills to their employees, and they've paid for the stuff, but they're out, a lot of money. We have a local one right here in Pocatello that's out just over $13 million. He probably won't survive.
Yeah.
Because of that. It's in bankruptcy.
Yeah.
They just did the auction. We're not sure who won that bid at the auction yet.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask you about, was if anybody was interested in purchasing it.
Absolutely. They did have an auction. That auction came out. They had two different auctions. The first auction was they auctioned the whole entire plant off together.
Yeah.
And the other auction, they piecemealed it out, and they did it piece by piece. So the auction with everybody together, or everything together, the winning bid came in at $3.7 million. When they piecemealed everything together, the total amount came, the latest number I have seen is 4.7, I think, or $4.5 million.
Yeah.
So almost $1 million more to piecemeal it all out, but that's a heck of a deal for a $700 million plant.
Yeah.
The thing about Hoku, though, is there are many people that that told Roger, don't put that there.
Yeah.
Don't put that site there. I know our former fire chief said you don't put that there because it's got toxic chemicals. It's got waste in it that when there is a fire, not if, but when there's a fire, the prevailing winds blows those chemicals right straight over the city.
Oh, wow.
So it was a dangerous thing to do. It was ill-advised. It shouldn't have happened, and it's cost us a lot of money. Even right now, we're paying part of the Idaho Power rate increase.
Yeah.
That they named Hoku as one of the number one reasons why everybody in Pocatello got an increase in our power.
Oh, wow.
And that's part of that 25% or 23% power increase that we have, and they named Hoku as being the reason because Hoku guaranteed them $2 million worth of power being used every month. So it's a $24 million revenue source that
Wow.
they anticipated and they figured they would have, and that turned around and it left. And
So we're all losing money on that.
We're all paying for it. Everybody out there is paying for it right now.
Wow, crazy. Well, I guess I just hope that there's going to be a future for the place, and I think there's going to be. It probably won't be Hoku. It will be something else, probably.
Well, we're working very hard with a couple companies. One company in particular, the company that has won the bid for all of it, they want to come in, tear it all out, and leave. Well, I'm okay with that if they leave some of the buildings there and they allow us to lease those buildings out to people and even sell those buildings to people. I'm okay with that stuff.
Yeah.
If they help support that, but there's no guarantees they will.
Yeah.
And so that's a concern I have. If there's no guarantees they'll do that, then that's a concern. We do have another company that we're working with. If they can get a hold of the property, if they can do that, they will bring more businesses here. I've been working very hard with a company out of Canada that is willing to bring in as many as 12 different smaller businesses into that area, and it would create about 300 jobs.
Wow, awesome.
So that would be an economic boost for the community.
Oh, yeah,
we'll see if that happens.
Well, I hope it does. That sounds really promising.
It does sound promising, and he's looking at making some investments here.
Cool. Well, I guess that leads my next question. How has Pocatello's economy improved during your term as mayor?
Well, I think a couple ways it's improved. A couple of different things have happened. Number one, we've increased our workforce. We've increased we've gained. There's a number. That number's in dispute, but I'm going to stick with my number until I'm proven differently. And that number is we have created about 2,200 new jobs over the last 4 years.
Oh, wow.
There's a dispute over whether or not those are right numbers or not. My opponent will argue that they're wrong numbers. I'm saying they're right numbers, and you can back it up by if you look at the Allstate building. The Allstate has they came in with 600. They've added another 240. We've got 840 jobs there. Atco came in with 120. They now have 230 plus employees there. Peterson Incorporated, when they were at the gun plant that they were at, had as low as 30 jobs. Now they have as high as 73 or 4 jobs, and we've retained those jobs. And then you look at Sportsman's Warehouse. They came, they left. All those employees disappeared when they left. We worked hard to get Dick's Sporting Goods into that area, so now we have more employees there. We've got new restaurants. We've got new businesses the Winco that just was built, we worked really hard to retain them in Pocatello because they were leaving Pocatello. They weren't going to stay there.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
We worked hard to retain them here, and they created, when they built the new store, they hired an extra 100 people there. You have the new Ridley store that has those, and so as you look at all of the new stores and the new things that have happened, the investments that people have made into Pocatello, we have definitely added a minimum of 2,200 jobs.
Yeah.
We've probably added more than that.
Well, it has actually seemed to me that a lot of, I guess, new stuff has been coming here, because I went on my mission, right after you were elected.
Oh, okay.
So I actually came back and saw all this new stuff.
Oh, so you weren't here. That it makes a world of difference, here when it's all happening, and all of a sudden, bam, there it is, And so
yeah, I mean, when you're gone, and you come back, and it's like, whoa, look at this and look at that. And,
that's right.
And
that's right. And another thing we're doing right now, we have, if we can make it all work and put it all together, we have the commitment of another company that's coming in that will make a $45 million investment in Pocatello. That company is going to employ anywhere from 200 to 300 employees itself. We have another company we're working to get at the airport. That company is going to bring in another $16 to $17 million worth of investment, and that's going to employ another 180 employees. So there are a lot of companies out there, a lot of things out there that we are working with that quite frankly, is very promising, and we're on the short list right now.
Yeah.
Which is surprising to me. Not that we're on the short list, but these companies we started working with in the summer. I made a trip to Southern California to try to promote Pocatello, get people here, try to do everything we can to bring economic stimulation here. And those companies, we visited 10 companies there. We had 6 guarantees that they would come. All 6 have come, plus another one from talking to those companies has come. So we've had 7 companies come up here, and 3 of those 7 right now are so committed to coming here, it's unbelievable.
Wow.
And it's one of them, it will employ 50 jobs. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that's 50 jobs.
That's awesome.
And they're good paying jobs. We have one company that is looking to come here. They want to move here so bad. It's a smaller company. They will employ probably 11 to 13 people is all. But what's important with that 11 to 13 people is their annual wage will be up in the $130,000 a year. And so that brings a lot more economic stability to the city of Pocatello.
Awesome.
So we've been working extremely hard to get that.
I can tell you're looking pretty
amazing.
Tired. To tell you the
Well,
truth.
you know what? We're working hard to burn the candle at both ends of the table, and you've got to do that.
Yep, you do. I watched that debate, the one on Channel 6 and the Black Box. I watched that on their website, and you brought up the fact that during Roger Chase's term that he had not an unemployment rate, economic growth rate that was below 2%.
That was population rate into
population
Pocatello.
rate. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, I thought it. I actually kind of thought it was funny that Roger denied that, because I remember reading an article that he wrote in the Idaho State Journal when he was mayor, where he was bragging about that. He was bragging about that 1%. 1-point-something% growth that was happening in the community, and he said, we need to maintain that, because if we grow too fast, that's going to be bad for our community. Cause problems in the economy and blah blah blah. That was what he wrote, and I remember at the time I thought, that's pretty sluggish growth if you think about it, 1%.
Well, if you think about 2010, I mean, a real poor economy, and it would be interesting to know exactly how much Pocatello has grown over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
But in a really poor economy, that's what we're in.
Yeah.
That's where we've been right now. And I think, it feels like we've grown 1%.
Yeah.
So it's terrible. From 2000 to 2010, every city in Idaho, every major city in Idaho grew in double digits. And when I say every major city, I mean cities that are not the top 10 He likes to run out in front and say the top 10 were this or the top 10 were that. But the top 25 cities in Idaho, and when you do a top 25, Chubbuck is the size that Chubbuck is 13th in Idaho, if I remember right, the in population size.
Oh, wow.
So you go to 20 or 25 or 30, those cities were all growing in double digits.
Yeah.
You know, Chubbuck, for crying out loud, during that same period of time, 2000 to 2010, grew over 40%.
Uh-huh.
That's incredible. Idaho Falls grew in the double digits, up in the 20%. Nampa, they were growing. Nampa was growing as fast as 30 or 40%, and Caldwell the same thing. Boise, I mean, all these cities were growing that fast. Twin Falls grew up in the 60% range. We have population growth of under 2%,
Yeah.
and I believe it's closer to 1% than 2. It's
Yeah.
horrendous.
Yeah.
But we had a desire to not grow our community.
Well, and I remember that thing he wrote in the paper. That was actually before 2010. That was before the economy tanked.
Well,
That he
yeah.
wrote that, and he was saying we need to maintain this at 1%. Other communities are growing faster, and that's bad for them. We've seen the problems with.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what he was promoting, and I kind of thought, well, that's not very good, you know.
Well, the thing is if you can keep your population the same and you can keep the same friends, then you can remain in power.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous when you have a politician that's willing to stop growth so that you can remain in power. That's a dangerous place to be.
Oh yeah.
And
Absolutely.
And it's hard for. I mean, the economic stability of a community directly relates to sale of homes. It directly relates to the sale of building of homes and projects and things. And if you don't have that movement, you're not going to grow anyway. You're not going to have increase in the value that you're looking for.
All right. Awesome. Well, I got a few quick questions to ask you.
Okay.
I'm almost out of time here, but I heard that the post office almost closed down in Pocatello. You know,
Did.
not.
It did, and that's you want a quick story or a quick answer? Or a
Yeah,
long
a quick
answer?
story. Yeah, give it.
It is a long answer. The Postal Service was going to shut down Bannock Post Office in Old Town. And when they were doing that, they thought they could come in and just say, we're going to close it down. Nobody would show up. Well, I showed up, and so did about 300 other people showed up to testify at a public hearing. So they had another public hearing, and we all showed up again to do the same thing. And then we couldn't get anywhere with the people in Salt Lake that were pushing to close down the post office. And then they started talking, and we found out through the grapevine that they were talking also about closing the sorting center. Well, there's 80 jobs there, 80 families that are affected there. The Postal Service was going to close that down. And so we went and said, wait a minute, you can't do that. So they had to have a public hearing on that. So we brought them back to do that. And then they didn't have the willpower because they saw how much public outcry there was to do that, which was a benefit to the community.
Yeah.
Then we went and I met with the Salt Lake people time and time again. We met, I'll bet, 10 times. We met with all the public hearings and then all the meetings, phone calls and everything afterwards. Finally realized we weren't going to get anywhere. And so I put a delegation together. We jumped on a plane. We went back to D.C. and we talked with the United States Postal Commission. When we did that, at that point, up to that point, I was the only mayor in the country that went back to Washington, D.C. to talk to the Postal Commission about our postal service and about why it's important to keep them here.
Wow.
After we got back from there, they removed the postal sorting center and all the post offices off of being closed. And we worked on things. We have a problem now. They're starting to talk about it again.
Yeah.
The benefit we have is Congress hasn't been working too good together, and so we haven't. It's a low priority right now, and I'm hoping to be able to address this again in February when I'll go back to Washington D.C. and we'll be able to fight for our post offices again.
Well, I think that's reason enough to reelect you. I mean, you've already saved our post office once. You know, we know you could do it again.
Well, we'll go back and we'll do it again, and we'll see what we can do to get that removed from the chopping block.
Awesome. Well, what Well, I'm just gonna, since we're almost at time, I'm gonna skip here to the last question. Are we better off today than we were 4 years ago?
There is no question we're better off today than we were 4 years ago. 4 years ago, people were not. 4 years ago, people, their attitude in Pocatello was poor. 4 years ago, the economy was going downhill. 4 years ago, people were frustrated and upset. Idaho State University wasn't a part of any of the conversations the city was having. The Shoshone-Bannock tribe was not a part of that. In fact, we were in fights. Today, we're meeting with the Shoshone-Bannock tribe all the time. We're using Idaho State University to help bring businesses in. They're sitting at the table now every time we move somewhere. The attitude in Pocatello has changed. We have made it so that it is a better place for people to live. We have a better trail system than we had 4 years ago. We had more employment than we had 4 years ago. We have Pocatello that's been turned around, and it's moving now in the right direction. We still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Don't misunderstand me. There is still a lot of work to do. I recognize that. I think everybody recognizes that. But when you look at the attitude of people, it has made a world of difference what we're doing. We have people are happier now in Pocatello than they were 4 years ago. The economy is improving and moving forward the way it is, and we have an awful lot of other businesses that are coming and looking. We're going to be moving forward so fast in the next 4 years. It's going to be unbelievable.
Awesome.
New shopping retail stores. We're working with a couple developers to bring that in. We're working with industry to bring their businesses in. And I apologize. I know that we're out of time, but it's so exciting to talk about what's happening to me. I could go on for hours.
Well, your excitement's getting me excited.
It's incredible, I think.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I'm going to ask you one quick question.
Okay.
I know we're almost out, but will you continue to fight for lower taxes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We were able to reduce taxes lower to a point lower than they've ever been in Pocatello because we went in and we closed the TIF district. And we were able to reduce those taxes. Now, honestly, we took too much.
Yeah.
And so we've had to bump the taxes back up. But those taxes are going to remain low, and we're going, with the businesses coming in, the new things that are happening, those taxes are going to remain low, and we're going to be able to keep our services at the high quality level we have. People, I have a couple minutes, I think.
Yeah.
People, I have heard one thing my opponent was going after was streets. Mayor Blad has taken the budget, the street budget, and he's torn it apart, and he doesn't give that same money that I gave. It's absolutely false. The street budget has remained the same. The difference is he was getting 2 miles of road repaved and chip sealed during the time, the year that he was in office and doing that.
Well, and I remember when he was mayor, as far as streets go, it seemed to me that he always repaved the same road over and over again.
Well, they didn't have a real good program and a real good system. I have listened to the street department. We have implemented new ideas and new innovative things to happen. This year alone, we paved 27 miles worth of lane miles of road.
Wow.
Paved, chip sealed, slurry sealed. We've just all the different processes that we've used. We put 27 miles out there. Now that's an incredible difference for the same amount of money, and we actually saved money this year in doing that because the rains, the storms that we had, we couldn't do any of the work.
Yeah.
And so our fiscal year ended, and we saved money, but still, with the fiscal year being cut short on both ends, early and late, we've got 27 miles worth of roads repaved and refinished, and the streets are looking great. The street department's doing an incredible job.
Yeah, I think they look good.
So,
you know, I've noticed the difference, and I've noticed that there's actually streets being paved now that I thought were kind of neglected before. 'Cause it seemed like I said, it seemed like the same road got paved over multiple times a year, sometimes twice a year. And I thought, well, why not pave some of these roads that are starting to fall apart